So in December of 2020, my company shipped 3,296 boxes of cookies. I'm gonna put it in perspective for y'all. We shipped over 32,000 cookies in just over 40 days with a team less than 20 people in 1,500 square feet. Thank you. My name is Marissa Allen, and I'm the co-founder and owner of Cookie Society. What started as a hobby in my home kitchen with my 2 kids at my feet has grown to an enterprise with 3 retail locations, a production facility, a food truck, and several Fortune 500 clients. If you would have told me that this is where I would be at 32, there's no way I would have believed you. I'm here to speak on resiliency and adaptability as a business leader. No part of my journey has been normal, but I'm sure most of you in the room would agree, entrepreneurship, there's nothing normal about it. We're all in this room because we rose to an occasion. I've always considered myself a natural leader, but a reluctant entrepreneur. I grew up here in the DFW area. I graduated from Plano East, and I earned a soccer scholarship to the University of Illinois, where I got my degree in business administration with a focus in marketing. Resilience for me started with competitive sports. I overcame injuries, a heavy class load, and a soccer schedule. I had no choice because they were paying for school. It was at the University of Illinois where I met my now husband and business partner. We dated all throughout college, balancing our athletic schedules, our class loads, and a lot of grace. One of the best moments of my life was watching him realize his dream. We were in Chicago, we were all huddled on a couch, surrounded by his friends and family, and I watched my husband get drafted as the 44th pick in the 2012 NFL Draft to the Kansas City Chiefs. Go Chiefs, woo! He went on to play 9 NFL seasons, ending his career with a Super Bowl ring. My first act of obedience and faith as it relates to my career was my original role as a support system and stay-at-home mom during his NFL career. It was very humbling. We've been together for 12 years and married for 9, and he always said, I can't wait to support you like you supported me. Now, I'm not sure if he would say that again, considering how much work he has put in since retirement, but we're still here. After having our second child, we went to New York City to celebrate my birthday. So because it was my birthday, I got to make the plans. And I'd done all this research, and there was this famous bakery selling cookies called Levain Bakery. We took a taxi to 74th Street, and the taxi lets us out in front of this building with a blue awning and a line of 20 to 30 people stretching down the block. So at this point, my husband's skeptical because we've never stood in line for a cookie, not like this. So I've never met a stranger, and I'm standing in line, and I'm talking to them, I'm asking what should we get. There's tourists, there's locals, and as we inch closer to the front, the excitement is palpable. So you have to go down these stairs, and when you push the door open, there's no room to move. You're just hit with the display case and the smells of the bakery. So we decide to get one of everything, we grab the bag, and we walk 2 blocks to Central Park and find a bench. So we open the bag, we bite the cookie, and it was just incredible. It's still one of my favorite cookies this day, even though I make thousands of cookies. We called people, and there's a trend on social media right now that says, tell me about an insignificant moment that changed the trajectory of your life. And for me, it was sitting on that bench in Central Park, tasting that cookie. I went home, and I started trying to recreate that cookie. And at first, I really thought I was just trying to reverse engineer the recipe. I had a background in food. I had started a food blog somewhere in those 9 years of his NFL career, but I mostly shared family recipes, tailgating recipes, not necessarily dessert or cookies. Along the way, my experimentation started to change. I started trying to play with flavors that we like that banana pudding cookie that he mentioned. I started playing with higher quality ingredients. At the peak of my experimentation, I was sending 75 to 100 cookies to the locker room with my husband for his teammates to enjoy. I was obsessed. It's the middle of the day, and their days are always really full. And so when he called me, I panicked. So I immediately pick up, and he says, hey, Riss, I have a teammate who wants to purchase those cookies you made 2 weeks ago. How much would you charge him? At this point, I had never, ever considered selling a cookie. I had a 6-month-old and an 18-month-old. That was just not gonna be doable, right? Well, after several conversations, encouragement of a few more teammates, we decided to go for it. So we established this LLC, and we actually relocated to Dallas because Jeff thought that he was gonna retire from football. Well, When the Kansas City Chiefs and Coach Reed calls, you pick up the phone and you go. So here I am in Dallas. I've started this business. I have an online website. We're taking orders, and I have these 2 small kids. So I would get up every morning. I would get them ready for school. I would drop them off, and then race to this commercial kitchen in Plano where we were paying $20 an hour to make cookies. Sometimes my mother-in-law could come, sometimes she couldn't, but we'd bake the cookies, package the cookies, and then race to the post office before I had to pick them up from school. I did that for over a year. On the weekends, I would load the kids up, we'd head to the airport, we'd fly to Kansas City, we'd cheer for the Chiefs, and we'd come back. At this point, my husband and I are having a lot of conversations about what should we do next. And it took a lot of faith to come to the decision that retail is gonna be our next step. It was incredibly scary. We were learning on the fly. We found a space in Frisco. We started meeting with architects, engineers, contractors to get this business off the ground. Now, the project is delayed because they always are, but this time was a little different. We were delayed because of COVID. This is March 2020. So I get a call from our project manager. We're at the point where we're just painting out paint smudges, and he says, I have to pause your project indefinitely. At this point, we were devastated. We had already hired a team. We had already planned this big party, and we had to cancel it all because I also was paying rent on that space. So we ended up canceling the celebration. We kept the balloon arch, and for the first few months, we would run to your car. We had masks and gloves, and we'd take your order, and then we'd run back inside, we'd put the cookies in a box and run them back out to you. We had a team that thought nothing of it when I said, we gotta go to the cars, we gotta go to them, because they can't come to us. My husband and I were working consecutive 14-hour days because we were just inefficient. We didn't know what we were doing. So we were not only working these long days, we were navigating personal and professional challenges of COVID-19. We would work in the kitchen all day, and then we'd go home, and we had to become business students. We had to learn about payroll, about efficiency, about processes, about scheduling. Adaptability isn't just about adapting to your environment. It's about adapting to what your business needs. Our business at that time required our involvement. Our team was enduring personal struggles like losses of loved ones, inability to see family, witnessing parents and friends lose their jobs. Our involvement, our resiliency became the standard at Cookie Society. As business leaders, we often focus on the end goal, the P&L, the growth, and trust some of those smaller details to our team, to our leads, our managers. While that trust is important as you cultivate resiliency and adaptability, those core values and culture cornerstones are often developed side by side. You have to be in there. Our understanding of our business, the roles we have, and the processes we implement need to be understood best by us. It was July 9th, 2020, and my husband and I are once again, after a very long day, sitting there going through company emails, responding to customer feedback on Yelp and Google, and we get this email, and it had one line. It said, please put me in contact with your PR agent. Now, we didn't have a PR agent. It was my husband and I. We responded after doing some research, making sure we weren't getting scammed, and that was the beginning of several conversations that ultimately landed us a spot on Oprah's Favorite Things. What was not pictured in those glossy pages of the magazine or in the GMA segment were the hundreds of cookies that we had to ship nationwide to the selection committee. You see, they were all remote. So everything that we would typically send to the office in New York City, I had to send to every single one of their homes. We did this on faith because there was no guarantee that we were gonna get that opportunity. We're progressing through the levels and we're sending in the cookies, they're sending back feedback, and we have to start calling box fabricators and trying to secure enough butter and enough flour and sugar to cover these orders if we somehow get this opportunity. We get the call that we made the list. We couldn't tell our team for a couple months after several NDAs, and when we finally were able to tell them, the look on their face was just pure pride. It was very hard to hire in those first days because we have a lot of kids that work for us, a lot of young adults that work for us, and they were at home. So our team didn't change a lot, but they were so proud of the growth and the progress that we made in such a short time. This was just the icing on the cake. So when we started adding night shifts, we had to increase production by 300%. They didn't even bat an eye. We had to prepare to send thousands of custom wooden gift crates. So here we are, it's launch day. They're about to announce this list on GMA, the Today Show, and several other online outlets. And we're all huddled around the computer, not only watching the announcement, but watching the traffic on our website. It starts to climb, and we start getting hundreds of orders in that first day. We immediately file out, and we get to work. We're still in this 1,500 square foot kitchen where we have to get all of this done, but they didn't think anything of it. It was just what we had to work with. So in this custom gift crate created for Oprah, we had 12 distinct flavors. We would hand make them, hand package them, and we would place them all in this box, put them in a shipping box, seal it, put a label on it, and put it towards the back for FedEx and UPS to pick up. Now, at the same time, we have hundreds of new customers because we've just been featured and we're down the street from them. So in the front door, we have all of these excited new customers flowing in, kind of similar to our Levain Bakery experience. And in the back, we're just trying to keep up with production. So our first round of shipments are finally starting to make it to their destination. And I'm nervous because we put so much effort and thought into those boxes. I can't wait to hear their feedback. So here we are once again, responding to feedback late at night, and we start to receive an influx of emails with a picture attachment. Now, if you have ever done customer service, you know a picture attachment is never a good thing. So we click one, and the picture's loading. It is surrounded by some of the most hurtful words I've ever read. And the picture is of a collapsed crate with crumbled up cookies. I am in tears because I'm tired, but also because how could this happen? This is the worst thing that could have ever happened to us. So we send off the, hey, we're gonna make this right email. We call our fabricator. Come to find out, the nail gun, the pressure was turned up too much. So the box wasn't actually put together. They were incredible to work with. We didn't miss a day of production. They came and picked up those crates, brought us some new ones, but we had to resend 75% of that first round of boxes that we shipped. We walk in the kitchen, and I'm just trying to hold it together for my team and tell them, hey, we have to resend some of those boxes. They were sad, but they didn't dwell. That resiliency was there. Our gratitude was overwhelming, but their resolve was unshaken. Our ability to adapt had become our strongest muscle. Our team pressed forward without prompting. Other issues arose. We had some angry customers, some justified, some not. We faced shipping delays all over the country. We also faced some product shortages, but we got it done. The greatest risk to the success of your business is consistency. I know you guys hear that a lot from other leaders, from other conferences, and we're typically talking about consistency when it comes to the product, but I'm referring to consistency in how you show up for your team. Because not only did we deliver that bad news, we showed up and we fixed it with them. Consistency does not equal rigidity. There needs to be room to change your process, change your style, and change your tone. That was the longest holiday season of my life. When it finally ended, we slept for about a week. The path from my home kitchen to multiple retail locations, a production facility, and even being featured on Oprah's Favorite Things was anything but linear. The core principles that not only fueled our growth, but transformed us as individuals and leaders was written in the process, not the plan. Resiliency for me was forged on the soccer field. It was cultivated through my husband's NFL journey, where support and shared dreams showcased the power of unity and adaptability. As we built Cookie Society, those same qualities became our core values. In a world that often tells us to stick to the script, we were called to improvise. Obedience was in approaching the unknown with faith, and here I am at 32, amazed by where it has led us. We faced unexpected challenges, but never wavered in our commitment. Resiliency and adaptability are not solitary endeavors. They're not just traits of a few leaders at the top. They're values that must be shared across your team. Our ability to pivot was only as strong as our team's ability to rally and adapt alongside us. Together, adaptability and resilience create a dynamic cycle. Adaptability prepares you to respond effectively to change, while resiliency ensures that you're prepared for the long haul. In this way, you're not just steering your business through the storms, but also building its capacity to stay afloat and reach its destination, regardless of the challenges that come your way. If you haven't tried Cookie Society, we would love to see you. Thank you.
Marissa, thank you so much for your story, man. I loved hearing about, man, the
you.
ups and the downs, the resiliency of your team, and everything in between. We've got a ton of questions that have already come in. If you don't mind answering a few, let's just start with one easy one. Where did the name Cookie Society come from?
See, that was also an act of faith because my husband and I were just around the table, and we have this thing that if what you sell is in the name, it's got to be good. So we immediately rolled out my daughter's name. We rolled out some of the other things, and we were just shocked that the name Cookie Society, the URL, the website, the social handles were all available. So.
Man, that's incredible just to being able to find all of that together. That's rare
I just wanted to
today.
be inclusive, so.
A big part of your story seems to be you and your husband working together and how that's worked out through your business. So we've got several questions just kind of in this vein. One of them being, how have you kept a good marriage in the midst of starting a business together?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Still in it, so we're still here. That's good news. Well, I think we left the NFL with a lot of gratitude. I spent a lot of time alone. He spent a lot of time on the road. His job was very, very stressful. So we kind of came into this new chapter for us grateful, just grateful to be together. Now, we still need some separation. We recently got an office space, and we drive separately because sometimes you just need to be alone. But we do. We try to check in. We try to go on dates. It's hard because we have small kids, but it's just a respect for each other, I think.
Yeah. Well, with that in mind, when you do have kids at home and you're working with your spouse and things like that, like when you're receiving emails at home and phone calls at home, how do you work hard to maintain that work-life balance?
The first person we hired was my sister-in-law, God bless her, and she checks those emails. So after that night, when I opened those emails with the broken crates, I haven't opened one since, but... We just have to log off. That was one of the reasons that we committed to the office space, because we needed that physical separation of work and home. It was getting harder to do as our to-do list got longer, and so that was part of that motivation.
Okay, that's incredible. Patricia says, I love your story of you and your husband supporting each other in the business. My question is this: how did you figure out your business strategy and scaling? And then my app jumped because it's being mean. How did you figure out your business strategy and scaling, and how do you know when you are ready to scale?
Ooh, I love that question. So I'll answer the scaling part first. We always scale when the business can support itself. So when our Frisco store, after getting through Oprah's Favorite Things, the traffic in-store never died down, so we knew we had to make a change. So from there, we opened the production facility, because we're like, man, we're making 5-6 doughs a day. We're in here all night. We need a more efficient way to produce cookie dough. So that was natural. That felt very natural. The next store, our Addison store, same thing. We are constantly looking at spaces. I think we're constantly taking visits, but it's when, okay, traffic is up, and we have the team, and we like to collect really good leaders. We like to collect good managers. That would probably be the only thing that we hire before we're ready. We hire good leaders. So our leadership team is very impressive. We have a former Cane's trainer. We have former Chick-fil-A. We have former fine dining people. And they are there to help us figure out what we don't know. As I mentioned earlier, Jeff and I spent a lot of time at home trying to teach ourselves things. So when we got to the point that we could have some help, that somebody could help us provide those answers, that felt natural. So it's never been this timetable. It's not like we got to open 3 units by the end of the year. It's just been, when can we accommodate it? Do we have the team to lead it?
So I love that it's more than just we've got a higher demand. It's also that we've got the right people in place to make that happen. Yeah. That's incredible. What's the main thing you do differently today if you were starting your business right now?
Oh, main thing I would do differently today if I was starting my business. Get a bigger mixer. No, but in actuality, I would have hired HR sooner. So HR is hard to manage when you're also running the business. It's hard to be impartial. It's hard to handle some of the issues that come up in a really small workplace when you run the business. And I think I would have hired that person sooner.
Yeah, that's not what I expected you'd say, but that's I think an incredible piece that sometimes we miss is having that backbone of somebody that can help us in the human resources area.
Yeah, and it wasn't even that we started facing a lot of issues. It's just we were in such close proximity that it was hard to be impartial. It was hard to have private conversations. It was hard to, find them resources if they were needed because we were always on top of each other.
So did you have to report your husband to HR at any point?
No, I did not. I did not.
Some people are upvoting this specific question, so I want to get to it and make sure we cover it. It says, what's been the best way to utilize word of mouth to grow your business?
Ooh, I like that question too, because we didn't start paying for marketing till this year. Shout out to my husband. He does all of our marketing strategy. But with word of mouth, we had to make sure, you can't make sure they leave with just a good experience. It has to be a great experience. People don't talk about good experiences. They talk about bad experiences and great experiences. So the best way was to show that attention. And I will say, in our early days, it was easier to do because these people hadn't gotten out of the house in so long. And so they were just happy to talk to another person that they weren't related to. But that was the part that we were planning. And we didn't sit down and establish core values, as I mentioned, but we did sit down and talk about how we wanted people to feel when they left Cookie Society.
That's incredible, and it doesn't hurt that your cookies are also incredible, and I'm addicted to them. How has inflation affected your business model? How have you led your company to adjust?
We've had to make some adjustments for sure. Just when prices go up in the grocery store on eggs and butter, they go up for us too. We have made slight price adjustments, but we've also taken this time to invest in equipment versus, say, that next location. So when we can do that, I don't have to get rid of my people. We can do more without having to hire more people. So that money that we have set aside to pay our team can go to our team versus me having to find more people just to keep up with the demand. That was one of the big things that we did. So we haven't opened a store since Addison. We're working on South Lake right now. It's under construction, but we did kind of have a longer gap in there than we really wanted because we did have to sit down and kind of plan for prices to continue to go up on things.
Another one that's been highly upvoted is if you could pick one celebrity right now to promote your cookies, who would it be?
Beyonce. No brainer. I'm a big fan.
So Beyonce, if you are watching the Good Leader Conference online, we will get you some free cookies, I promise. How do you keep your people motivated through a heavy workload?
That's a great question because we are in there. We are busy. It really was me taking a step back. So I know, and I teach, I talk about that involvement. In our first 2 years, one of us was opening and or closing every single day. That's where that culture came. But then you have to recognize when it's time to take a step back. There's other things I need to be doing now to continue to foster growth. We are very intentional about scheduling management check-ins. We call them Win the Quarter, which is I come visit your store and we talk about, hey, are we on track to accomplish these goals we set at the beginning of the quarter? So every single month I sit down with my manager and my operations director and we just make sure that we're on track. But as far as motivation, I had to step back because you're just not really motivated by the owner of the company. You're motivated by your leader. And so I had to give them the space to lead.
Well, that's an incredible thought, making sure that your people are set up right to lead their people. Mm-hmm. One question here says, when you had to resend 75 crates of cookies, how big of a financial impact was it, and how did God work that out for the good?
Oh, it was more than 75 crates. It was 75%. And so at the peak, we were sending like good 200-300 a day. That was just around the clock. UPS stopped by probably 3 or 4 times a day. The crates were taken care of by them, and they did contribute in the form of a discount to those shipping costs, because that's what really gets you. Yes, we had to reproduce those cookies, but at that time, those shipping costs were significant. And so not only did we have to remake that product by hand, we had to reship it, pay for that crate, and that was just not anticipated. As far as how did God come through on that one, it was just faith, and it was like, man, we wouldn't have even had these customers if it wasn't for this opportunity. So we kind of just had to eat it, and it's come back tenfold for sure.
So we've got a couple questions here that I'm going to try to roll into one.
Okay.
It's about passions and hobbies. And how do you know when your passion / your hobby is more than just a passion or a hobby and something that can be turned into a business and something that can be turned into a success?
Man, that's a great question, because one of my big fears when we opened Cookie Society was, oh my gosh, what if I hate making cookies or I hate baking? I was very, very scared because here I am enjoying it, but now it's got to become a business. But for me, my passion is food, and my passion is that reaction when people get the cookies and when they love them or when they use them to show love or to show they care to somebody else. So I wasn't really worried about that passion leaving after I really unpacked that. But as far as turning it from a hobby into a business, I had many, many hobbies that I thought I was going to pursue. I had a photography business for one holiday season. I had a food blog that was going pretty well. I thought I was gonna make jewelry. I was really just trying to stay busy. But this was the only one that I was excited to not only research and make good products, but to get better at it. I wanted to improve. And I think a hobby, I just enjoyed doing. So that's probably the difference on that one. And all of those passion projects, we can call them, ended up helping me with my business. So if you see a still shot of a cookie on a white background, I still take those. I still take probably 30% of our still pictures, so still using it.
Okay, we've got about a minute and a half left, and this one is getting a lot of upvotes right now. So how do you find good leaders? What is your recruiting strategy? That
is great. So my best leader, she just walked in the door. And she said, I've been following y'all, and I came, and you weren't ready for me. But she came back, and she told us what she could do for us. I think the other thing is you have to kind of broaden your scope that you're looking at. So very, very few people that work at Cookie Society have kitchen experience, have baking experience. I don't think I have but one that has actual professional baking experience right now. We were just looking for people that could not only be a good team member, but be a good leader. Now, the tricky part is everybody can't be a leader. You need some people that are good followers. So when you're evaluating, it's like, man, could I see her following my best leader, or do I see her learning from my best leader? And that's kind of how we approach those interviews. Almost every leader at Cookie Society, I sat in on their interview, and after a few mishaps, I think we're on the right track.
A little bit of trial and error, but you think
a little
you've got
trial
it
and error
dialed in.
there, but we're on our way.
Well, Marissa, thank you so much for your time. Can we give it up one more time
Thank you.
for Marissa?
Thank you so much.